So, were you able to find the file? And were you able to open up injunctions? It's slide number 78. 78. Seven is the slide number. You got it? Amazing. So let's move on to the day two of transaction analysis. Just to do a quick recap of day one, Anju. Transaction analysis, as I told you, is a theory of personality and has a systematic approach for personal growth and personal change. The best way to begin understanding transaction analysis one can do is start from three assumptions. Uh, so first one is people are okay. So in this case, when we are doing a Google Hangout session, for me, Anju is okay to okay enough to do a Google Hangout session with me, and and I'm also okay doing that with you. But it perhaps may be that you may not approve of my approach, my style, or some of my words and behaviors. Okay. The second assumption is uh, 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 people have capacity to think for themselves. Each one of us know what we want from the world, and we use all our capacity to fulfill what we want. So we know what we want and what we want to achieve. This holds true for all those people except for psychotic disorders. So in our case, if you go to see, what I want from you is your completion of your day two session with me on ego states, and what you might perhaps might want from me is Parag should complete this session with you today. All right, and we both have a clarity on what we want from each other. Going further, the last one is people can change their destiny. Decisions taken can also be changed. So what does that mean is transaction analysis is a decisional model where whatever decisions we have made in our early childhood, they were helpful to us. Okay, and those decisions were arrived at maybe at the month three, month six, depending what was the situation. Uh, we used our inner sensations and emotions to arrive at those decisions, and it worked for us to get what we wanted from the world. But as we grow up, Anju, are you there? Yeah, okay. As we grow up, these decisions may become unproductive to us. So transaction analysis says that in order to change our destiny relationship, of our interaction with people, be it in personal or professional life or in business life, we have to update our beliefs and change our decisions. So that will help us to change our decisions. Okay. Now you can take all these three assumptions in isolation and get into other two, or you can take them together and you can start from any angle. It will somehow uh, cover all the three assumptions. Going further, there is a principle on transaction analysis, which you might be aware that it's about open communication and a contract. Not just talking much about it, but we contract is that that is you and me both enter into a contract wherein I have accepted this commitment to undertake a day two program with you, and I will fulfill the obligation to conduct the program and share whatever my knowledge on day two of transaction analysis is with you to the best of my knowledge. You have given your contract to me also that yes, you will be available to undergo the day two program at a convenient time and place. And so Google Hangout is one session 12 o'clock, and going further, uh, you will do your best to understand about the session, about the modules, and feel open to ask questions wherever the need be. The second principle of transaction analysis is we call is uh, open communication. Open communication means whatever we are going to share will be open and frank and just remain between both of us only on Google Hangout. Um, so this is what we will ensure it will happen. All right. Now, while understanding this fact, these two principles, going further, there is a goal for TA. The only goal of TA is autonomy. So autonomy per se means free from external dependency and experiencing our full potential and being independent. How do we know we are in autonomy? So one, either we are aware that we are in here and now situation, or we feel we feel a sense of spontaneity. That is, we have multiple options to respond from with to address a particular problem in the situation. And the third one is intimacy, that you are open to express your authentic feelings and sharing with other person. So if you are feeling experiencing any one of the three, you can say that you are in the state of autonomy, and you have to prolong that state of autonomy by being longer duration of awareness of being here and now, and always having that belief that you have multiple options to exercise to serve here and now, and taking further, like you have this intimacy where you will express the authentic feelings as it is. So how does this apply with this goal of TA's autonomy in our this session on day two is that we would you are completely you're completely independent of me to understand TA in your own way as to how you feel it will be more applicable to you in different areas of life, and for your own personal change and organizational change as well as for growth, and for you to understand that okay, you are in the state of autonomy, you will have that awareness that are you here and now completely with Parag, and I know, and you have questions to ask or acknowledge or even perceptively resonate, extrapolate to different areas of life. Or perhaps maybe you are feeling very spontaneous that you have multiple options to exercise uh, where all TA can be utilized, and how all you can use to TA to improve your life and your relationship, as well as the intimacy where you feel how do you genuinely feel about this day two session, how you genuinely feel about Parag's training methodology, training pace, and whatever he's discussing with you. Going further after the autonomy, after the goal of TA, we talk about the qualities of autonomous person is they are accepting, they accept themselves and others as they are. So they have a higher self-acceptance and highest acceptance of others. Second, they are asserting people. They are open to they are open, frank, and feel rightful enough to claim what they feel is right enough to ask from the world, and that is what makes them assertive. And the second thing is already told you. They third thing is an achievement, a sense of achievement they have about their work, family, and spiritual life. And the fourth one is feeling authentic. Authentic is means openly sharing their feelings without censoring the behavior. So, in transaction analysis, to help you recall, there are four authentic feelings. The first authentic feeling is we call is sad, mad. Okay, the four authentic feelings are sad, mad, glad, and fear. So that is scared, being scared. So either you are sad, genuinely sad about something, you are mad, that is angry, not that craziness, and you are glad, that is happy in today's parlance, as well as scared, that is being fearful about things. So to be here and now, to have that intimate relationship, one needs to have that authenticity in their expression and in their behavior. That requires a lot of that requires a lot of understanding of one's own personality and what causes our personality to be contaminated. So what we did was ego states and like parent ego state, adult ego state, and child ego state. And also we saw how those ego states function as critical parents, nurturing parent, and adult as well as adapted child and nurture as a nurturing child. An adapted child can be a compliant child as well as can also be a rebellious child, whereas a nurturing child can have a little professor. Now, because now we are talking about personal ego states. Ego state, in simple words, it's like a state of mind. And uh, as of now, in this situation, what we are into doing a Google Hangout session, we are both of us are using our adult parent and child ego states. But sometimes we might slide into pure parent or predominantly parent or pure child or predominantly child ego state, and that can affect our adult response of being here and now. Because an adult ego state does not change, it is more into a problem solving mode, and a child ego set has a whole range of emotions which can be properly channelized with the help of adult ego state uh, to understand what the parent ego state values and belief systems are, be it either critical or be it nurturing. Um, so what were your scores for ego states? Do you recall that? Do you have the scores in front of you? Yeah. So what are your scores for critical parent, nurturing parent, adult? Okay, okay, uh-huh, uh-huh. Free child. Then NC, right? The free child NC. Your NC score is 83, right? NP was 87 and FC is 83, right? Okay. Now, if you go to see your adult is 79. So what happens is that Anju, how much do you connect with the scores? Does it really speak for you? That you have that nurturing ability, you have that free child streak inside you, using a lot of creativity, having a lot of energy, exuberance, and constantly expressive about one's own needs and wants. How much do you connect with this score? Do you see yourself as a nurturing parent, someone who encourages, support others, be it your own biological child or be it could be anyone in your professional work life, junior or a novice around you? Um, or do you see yourself more as a person who is a free child with a lot of energy, exuberance, creativity, want to experiment with new things, always open and authentic to express one needs and wants that needs to be fulfilled, and uh, that needs to be fulfilled and try new things in the life? Which one do you see yourself more as, or do you see you are equally both? correlate. And which one do you more correlate with? Like, okay, right. I'm sorry. Yes. See, that balance can only come with adult ego state, which I must have told you. Fortunately, your adult ego state has to rise above them. So at least your adult ego state should be 89, 90, or so that fully, it can help you to fully uh, utilize and channelize your nurturing ability and get the best of the results, and also fully utilize your child energy of free child and creativity and get the best of the ideas and promoted and accepted by the world around. But the adult, what happens in the process, the adult ego state takes a back seat, and there is a constant movement between adult parent child adult parent child adult, or child parent adult, or child adult. There's a constant flux happening between, because the difference between both of them is very narrow. Let's say between NP and adult, the gap is just around 79 and 83. When you say, it is just the gap of 4, right? There should be a gap of at least 5 and above, up to maximum 10. And the gap between 79 and 84 is just like how much? Another 5. So this should be also above 5 and 10, between 5 and 10. So it is a very decent score. If you, let's say, if there had been a gap of at least 8, 9, or between parent, and that's what happens is that in that scenario, if the adult ego state had been higher, let's say at 90, then the difference between the free child and adult ego state would have been 6, and the difference between adult ego state and nurturing parent would have been 7, right? So then adult ego state is in a better position to optimize, utilize, and make you aware how much of the nurturing parent you need to utilize, how much of the free child you need to exhibit, how much of when and how your needs and wants you can nurture and get it fulfilled. The adult ego state would help you to drive that entire act. So, have you tried working on your observing your ego states over a period of last few weeks since we finished our program? Great. And what have you been doing on that part? Okay. What I can suggest you, one simple thing is, just before the sleep or anytime during the day, if you have this habit to introspect how the day has been so far, and what has gone right, and what could have been better, and what all things you completed, what all things needs to be completed. You can add one more thing is, like, where I have been a parent ego state, where I have been into child ego state, where I have been into adult ego state. And when you feel, no, I have been a nurturing parent, I have been a free child, but I've never been adult, or I have been nurturing parent and nurturing child without adult awareness, then you have to ask yourself, how much difference would it have made to the outcome if your nurturing parent and nurturing child would have been done with an adult awareness. So then you would say to yourself, yes, it would have made difference to me, perhaps in terms of handling my emotions or my expectations, or avoiding getting burnt out or overstretched, or maybe maybe increase my potentiality to nurture more people, or have a lot of free time without any sense of guilt, with my family and with my children or with my friends. So that adult awareness would have really helped you out, and this becomes a learning of the day for you. Now, next day morning when you come up, that thought actually somewhere lingers in your system, and as you are passing the day, somewhere your mind after a few days starts reminding you, hey, you're doing amazing, encouraging others, caring for others, thinking about what you can do more for others, but also respect yourself and know, and also be careful how much of it what you need to be done. Okay. Also, you should know why you are caring about others. You know why you decided to care about others. So, what are you expecting out of that? And are those expectations fulfilling your child ego states or not? Okay. So, and in fact, you can even check it out about okay, what needs and wants I need to fulfill today. Are there any goals which I have set which I need to fulfill? Uh, so if there are some goals which I have set, let me fulfill. If there are no goals set, do I want to set the goals? So fine, sit down and set the goals and start working on those goals. And use your adult awareness to how much these goals are rationally possible, not possible. How your time, how you can use a prioritization grid and even the smart goals aspect using your this thing called adult ego state, as well as the Pareto's rule, how much of the effort would give you the 80% result. So, with this awareness, you can carry yourself through the day, and again, on the end of the day, observe yourself and be okay with that. Don't get self critical. Just ask this question: if adult ego state had been used, was there, or if your nurturing parent or nurturing child had responded with that adult awareness, how much it would have made a difference to the interaction. That kind of analysis or observation is more than enough to, for you to drive your, the next day is much different way. Okay. Do I make sense? Sure. Do you have anything to ask me? Not right now. Okay. Going further with ego states, we spoke about transactions. We spoke about transactions are exchange of strokes or basic unit of conversation or a behavior. So when we are talking on Google Hangout, there is a transaction taking place. I'm asking you, do I make sense? Do you want to ask anything? So I'm asking you, and you're saying no, Parag. As of now, I don't have anything to ask. So that is an adult to adult transaction which has taken place between us, and this act of asking you something is a unit of my behavior. All right. Now within that, I would be using my words, my tones, my facial expressions, hand gestures. All these things will go together and work together uh, and help us out to understand really what kind of transactions is going, which ego states is involved in this transaction. So in our case, it was adult ego state which was involved. And before I get into talking, because now I'm into the nurturing mode, so I have to use my adult awareness that how much of it I can speak as a nurturing parent and how much of I can make it as a child ego state. So if I am talking about from a nurturing person, I'm not even asking you questions. I'm not trying to cross check with you. That means my adult ego state here and now awareness is missing, totally missing. Okay, I'm completely self-centered, operating, too happy to share the knowledge with you, but not really concerned. Not really concerned about your own needs and desires. As to can Parag ask me a question, or can I clarify with Parag anything? So as well as I am also not fulfilling my child ego state desire to ensure that Google Hangout is a new forum, and in this how a participant would benefit using this medium to conduct this session. So this is how you can use ego states and the transactions you can utilize. So transactions are of three types: complementary, cross and ulterior transactions. So complementary transactions means I asked you from an adult ego state, you responded to me from an adult ego state. So the principle it goes when the ego state addressed, that is in our case, your adult ego state has been addressed, is the same ego state which responds back to me, that is your adult ego state responds back to me, then it is called as a complementary transactions, and the transactions go on for longer duration or even for short second, but it will lead to some outcomes. All right. It can lead to an outcome for an activity, or it can lead to some outcome of having a pastime, or it can lead to an outcome of having some rituals to be followed, or it can lead to an outcome of an intrapsychic withdrawal, what we are trying to have with others. Okay, so that kind of complementary transaction can take place. Cross transactions is an opposite to complementary transaction when the ego state addressed is not the one which responds back. I asked you, is there anything you want to ask me? Is there anything you want to understand furthermore? If you had said that, uh, Parag, this is Parag, can you just discuss about the scores? Then it would have completely stopped our transaction, stopped our communication. Okay, or if you had told that Parag, this is getting too much, I would like to restart again later on. Then it would have been somewhere been a cross transaction. It is a cross transaction because two things are involved. One, the ego state, which I had addressed you from adult ego state. How was this? Do you have any questions to ask? Do you like any clarification? You asked from a child ego state. Parag, is it okay if we do this session some other time? I'm not keen to continue forward. Then, and you are addressing my parent ego state, but not my adult ego state, which started the conversation. So, because of this, uh, it leads to a cross transaction where we both are talking something very differently, and it's not leading to a closure of a problem. The last is ulterior transaction. You have to give me 1 minute. I'll just step out and get a glass of water. Sure, thank you. Yeah, I'm back. So, ulterior transaction, in these transactions, there are either there are either more than two ego states involved. Either there are two ego states involved or there are three ego states involved. In ulterior transactions, there is only a transfer of message happening at two levels, from adult to adult ego state, or is a social message. There can be a social message which is going, or there is a psychological message which is going on. Okay. Now, a psychological message. So let's say in our scenario, I asked you, do you have anything to ask me? And you said, no, as of now, Parag, nothing is there. But if I had put the statement in a different manner, that okay, I'd ask you, do you have anything to ask me? Uh, and if you have, you can think over on that. If you had it been my next statement, my this is my social message coming to you. The psychological message might have come is perhaps don't ask me now. Now, when you listen to my stimuli, you tell me, Parag, I don't have anything to ask me. Uh, I said, yeah, I'll think on that if I have to come back. And maybe the psychological message you would have sent to me is something else. So the psychological messages don't come from the same ego state from where the ego state, social messages are getting addressed. It comes from a different ego state. Now, this was about entirely about transactions. Then going further from transactions, we spoke about strokes. So strokes is a now before I can talk about strokes, let me tell you there is something called hunger satisfaction. Because there is a hunger satisfaction. In hunger satisfaction, what we do is we have two types of hungers. One is a recognition hunger and or a stimulus hunger, and second is a structure hunger. So a recognition hunger is hunger in which we are exchanging our strokes. That is, we send a stimulus and receive the stimuli. So I send a stroke and I receive a stroke. So I can send a positive stroke. I can even receive a positive stroke. I can send a negative stroke and can receive a negative stroke. These strokes can be conditional or unconditional depending on my beingness, which is for unconditional positive or negative stroke, or it can be for my performance or doing, which can be positive or unconditional, which can be conditional stroke, and that can be positive or negative both. So, strokes is something what we desire, and the reason why we are knowing stroke is that because we all have, Anju, understand, an infant need for a physical touch. So, what you have to do is you have to give yourself a good, generous, abundant physical touch, and if over and above what you are receiving from others, because you have to self-recognize yourself first before you expect others to recognize you and satisfy your own inner desire of touch before you expect others to even give you a touch. Uh, Now going further, so now what can be more to heart? So now there is something called stroke economy. Stroke economy is all about the restrictions that our parents have put on us with respect to the abundant strokes that are available to receive or to give. So I might have so if you want to give it to someone but you have been told not to give it, then it's advised go ahead and give it to others. Be it positive, negative, conditional, unconditional, verbally or non-verbally, just go ahead and give it. If you have a negative stroke, I'm sorry, if you want to accept a stroke from others, be it positive, negative, or conditional, unconditional, verbal, go ahead. And if you want to accept it, go ahead and accept it. If you want to reject a stroke which you don't like, then feel free to reject any strokes, be it positive, negative, or verbal and non-verbal strokes. And if you feel that and you are not giving yourself enough self-stroke, go ahead and give yourself a lot of strokes positively, conditionally, unconditionally, because you have to make yourself feel important. Okay. So anything you want to ask me about transactions and strokes? Absolutely. Okay. So you want me to do the recap or directly start with injunctions? Oh, great. I just thought I am doing recap for your benefit. Nothing, not got. You could have stopped me earlier. I'm sorry. Okay, nevertheless, great. So we'll start with injunctions. So what we are going to do is have an introduction to injunctions, type of injunctions and permissions. So in order to understand what is injunction, the simple introduction about injunction is it affects our mental growth and also our interpersonal interactions. Who gives us these injunctions? It is our parents. What kind of parents? It starts with biological parents, and then it is also reinforced by other form of parental figures, which we call as a social parent. Okay. So now when we say it affects our mental growth means what? See, mental growth over here means it's not that we become retarded. We might have a thought, belief system, feelings which are outdated to the current situation over here on hand. This is what it means affects our mental growth. That means we have not these messages have stopped us from continuously updating our belief systems to be more responsive to the situations here and now. So in terms, it affects our assertiveness, it affects our agility, it affects our ability to lead people, it affects our ability to work in a team, it affects our interpersonal skills, it even affects us from uh, thinking very big and bold. So have you solved this question? Huh? It's not true false. It has to be rated from 1 to 9. I'm sorry. No, can you repeat this statement bit slowly and loudly? Uh, so if you don't have anything, mark it 1. If you don't have any three things that your parents did and you did not like, then mark it 1. Mark 1 if you don't have anything to mark anything. So do you remember that? I'm sorry. So if you feel that then if you want to rate it very highly, you choose the rating scores accordingly. So how many questions are left for you to solve? How many questions are left for you to solve? Uh, that's a life position. It's a life position you're talking about. So that life position is that you stop me from talking about life position because you wanted to straight away start with injunction. लाइफ पोजीशन भी किया था. You're not recalling it. ठीक है, then after injunctions we'll do life positions. Is that okay? Because we are almost discussing our injunction. So injunction का questionnaire have you solved? It should have 60 statements. I'm sorry. It's a multiple choice. It's a multiple choice. It's a multiple choice. Yeah, the injunction skill. Have you solved that? You want time to solve crack it out? It takes 10-15 minutes to do it. Anju, you want 10-15 minutes to crack it? So okay, so once you are ready, tell me. I am there. Meanwhile, I'll do some other work on board. Huh? Sure. So I'm still on the camera with you, but I will be just doing some other activity. All right. If you're stuck with anything, just feel free to connect with me. You can finish today everything. You have time. Oh God, your time constraint. So fine, then you'll have to give me this. What about weekends? Why you are not comfortable to spend one weekend? Can you spend an afternoon like this on your Sundays? I know I also don't prefer, but for you, I'm going. I'm just thought because you are so you're spread it out with your work and commitments, and me too. I always thought either late night or maybe the Sunday would be one day where we can actually sit down. If you don't want to do it in at a stroke 5 to 6 hours, then we can do it few Sundays for 2 hours. I'm fine with that without affecting your actual commitment for the family. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Maybe 1 or 2 hours. See, I'm ready to walk the halfway through. Only if you are because today because I finished my session on other day and I did not have I was actually planning to go out for some business development work for my training assignments. But I just remember I had to do a session with you, so I thought चलो आज पूरा दिन है ना 12 से लेके 5-6 बजे तक है ना. हाँ. I doubt, no, not in the daytime, not at late night around what time do you suggest? I'm sorry. अरे हाँ यार, सॉरी, अराउंड 10 o'clock तो मेरा ये रहेगा, एक मुंबई का जो नया बैच हो रहा है ना गूगल हैंगआउट का, उनके साथ है सैटरडे को. So perhaps Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday night, if you are fine with it. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, my 10 to 11 slots are empty. हाँ तो I'm see, okay, I started this session keeping in mind that I'll be doing this session with you till 6 o'clock in the evening. So इसलिए you told I want time, so I said okay, ठीक है, you take your time. Meanwhile, I'll do my other work and come back to you. No, you should. So only thing is, today up to what time you can continue? हाँ तो it's 12:30, it's 12:59. 1 o'clock नहीं मिलेगा ज्यादा टाइम को. How is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday 10:30? I'm fine. I can normally I avoid after 11 o'clock any to remain awake, but 10:30 to 11:30 I'll do it for you. So so Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday we can sit for 1.5 hour for each topic. We can sit back for 1.5 hour for each topic, and so on Monday we can do injunctions. Tuesday we can do drivers. Tuesday को drivers. And Wednesday को we can do live scripts and games. Live scripts and games करेंगे. So then that completes our entire session. Okay. And there are 3 free counseling sessions available. Yeah. मैंने Google Hangout को I took us as a situation and brought into its use. Great, but if you want to continue till 2 o'clock, finish solve your handout, and if you can sit back till 2:30, थोड़ा stretch अगर कर सकते हो 2:30 तक, तो हम लोग इंजंक्शन आज खत्म कर सकते हैं. Because in the midway, I'm sorry. Nee, I will discuss your score. So once you finish solving it, rating the statements, then I will tell you to transfer the scores to the table, total it up. I would have asked your scores. Based on that, then I would have discussed the injunctions with you. So because now you're the only one in the session, then it would be a more engaging interaction. So I'm sorry. No, see, I'm doing the same session with what I'm doing with the Delhi group and the Bangalore group. I'm just taking one concept a week for 1 hour, And any doubts they have, I'll clarify that. Second, I even talk more on the application point of view based on what they ask me, Parag, how to use in this kind of a module or that kind of a module. You want to do you so you want to discontinue now?